Numbers have settled down, so thank you very much for joining Property Wednesday. And you're probably thinking, why is it Property Wednesday, not Property Thursday? And the reason was we wanted to bring Uptown to you as early as possible and not miss a day. Or Nick's going on holiday tomorrow. It's one of those two. So yeah, very excited. I know this is like a geography lesson, Nick. I know you're from Manchester, as I mentioned, as well as this exciting development. Which has been in the planning for a while, hasn't it? And we've not got far to go. And the other reason I like this, and we're getting a lot of people asking for this, they want near completed or completed projects. So that fits the bill. So yeah. Nick, over to you.
Hi everyone. Thanks. Thanks for doing it on the Wednesday. It's been very helpful. It would have been a couple of weeks until we could do this, but yeah, I'll talk to you a little bit about us as a company. I'm sure numerous people on here have worked with us on here. Lots of you already know about Manchester, so I'll touch on the key stats. I won't dawdle too much on those because obviously I know a lot of people on here are aware of the sort of opportunity in Manchester. But I think the key thing that Chris just touched upon there is that a lot of things at the moment, or a lot of investments, people don't want risk with it, and I think that this particular development, the fact that the two smaller towers, which you can't actually see the third tower on that particular image, you will be able to in a second, that they complete in August this year. And then the larger tower, which dominates the center of this picture here, that completes in November, December time this year. So also it's a 10% deposit structure that we're running at the moment on this particular development with Holborn, and that's fully protected. So in terms of risk, you've got no real risk with this development whatsoever. I mean, it's pretty much complete in certain aspects, and also you're fully covered on the money you put into it as well. So yeah,
presumably, Nick, it's topped out, as they call it, got to the roof stage, and you're now putting the windows and the finishing touches. Would there be a good summation?
Well, it's not really like that. I mean, I'll touch on it a little bit more, but the buildings are all individual pods. So it's modular construction. It's a sustainable build. So the pods are effectively assembled off site, and then they're sort of stacked on top of each other. When the central column is basically a concrete column, and then that's how the building is then built. So it's all done with sustainable products. It's machine engineered. It's obviously a lot more environmentally friendly than a traditional build. So yeah, I mean that's why I'll talk a little bit more about the apartments and the way they sit within the building. But yeah, it's slightly different to that. I guess we topped out a long time ago in terms of the concrete cores, but it's kind of assembled on site as like Lego. It's an interesting structure that we're doing with it. Okay. So that leads us nicely into Property Alliance Group, who we are. So we're a developer, a 30-year-old developer in Manchester. We've built across all real estate sectors. So for the first 25 years, we built mainly commercial, hotels, industrial sort of buildings. That was our main focus. And then about five or 6 years ago, we started Alliance Investments, which we focused on our main projects in the centre of Manchester. I'll touch on those in a second, the ones that we've completed in the city centre. Manchester, very much our focus as a developer. We've started to partner with other developers in other cities to give our clients and Holborn clients as well other opportunities that we're sort of working alongside as joint ventures. But as a developer as a whole ourselves, Manchester's always sort of been our baby, and it continues to be that way. So this company structure is laid out there, and at the bottom you'll see Alliance City Living. So Alliance City Living will manage all of our buildings once they're complete, but they'll also do all the lettings for this particular development. So if this is an investment that you're looking at, they're an option. You don't have to use our agent, of course. You can use whoever you want, but they're on site. They can help, obviously, find tenants for you. But the good thing is, and you'll see this when I want to talk about some of our other developments, is that as we come to completion, we'll have an office on site there to start taking inquiries, and that's what happened with our project Oxygen last year. We had some, by the time we actually served practical completion, if you like, on the whole development, we had 400 or 500 rental inquiries that basically knocked on the door as they're walking past, and makes it very easy to then fill those apartments. I think we we pretty much rented out Oxygen within 6 weeks of it completing in the vast majority of the units in there. So it's an important service that we offer as well. So just talk about a little bit about our coverage. Some of you might have known me from the Hong Kong office. I was there for 2 years and then traveled around offices in that particular region. I remember meeting quite a few of you guys in those particular offices. Now stationed in Dubai, moved here because of the travel disruption, obviously working alongside wealth managers here and across the globe really. And our head office, of course, is in Manchester. So I've just touched upon our recent residential success. Many of you will have seen these buildings before. You've probably also got clients who've had success in them. So we've got a project here, Axis Tower, which is in the centre of Manchester on Deansgate. This was our first development. It's won awards for the design of the building. It's a very awkward shaped building that we built on a plot on Deansgate Locks. So it got lots of industry praise. As you can see there, 99% sold out on completion. There's only one particular unit that's left in there. It's a weird sort of 2-floored 1-bed apartment that yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, but that's the only one that's not there. And all of the units apart from that one were rented out that were investment units as well. So just the interiors there, won't touch too much on those. The interior is always improving throughout all of our developments. And obviously this was our first one, and you can see how good quality that was. Downtown was another project that we did. I think it actually predated the Holborn relationship when we actually launched it. It sold extremely well internationally. A lot of investors have done extremely well out of that development. I think that I was talking to one of our investors the other day who bought a 2-bed in there for 180. It's now worth 245 or something. So and she's had it rented out the whole time. So that was one of our joint venture partnership developments in the south of the city centre in Castlefield, and we're hoping to have another development just a couple of plots down from that, probably towards the end of this year. So again, we know that area works. We know it works for both owner occupiers, but also investors as well. Manhattan was an interesting one. This was one of our old office buildings. So this was just it's a small building in Chinatown in Manchester that Property Alliance Group owned as a commercial building. It was rented out to various different businesses. We applied for planning to change it, and we changed it to residential, and we did this sort of Manhattan, New York style theme. They sold extremely well. They're all obviously very light apartments in terms of, you can see the amount of windows in there. And yeah, they've performed extremely well in the rental market, and also the growth you've achieved from it as well. And then our biggest project to date that we built ourselves was Oxygen, which is right by Piccadilly Station. Got a swimming pool in there, amazing facilities, obviously spa, gym, all these types of things. And unbelievable facilities inside. I was blown away when I actually went around the building at the back end of last year. But yeah, that was a real success for us. And you can see there sort of dominates the skyline around Piccadilly Station. So all of this will give you a good idea of what the type of quality that Uptown is going to be completed to. As I discussed then, it's a different method of construction to something like Oxygen. You'll see now we're kicking on with it that the building will take shape very quickly because of the way I've discussed it. But also, I mean, the quality of the apartments is always going to be probably a level up from the previous development. It's just the way we kind of work things. So we offer all of these services. Holborn offer most of them themselves as well. I think a key one here for international investors and people looking to buy is that we have specific solicitors on each development. We can drive down the cost of solicitors if we bring in clients in bulk to a particular development, but also they know the development inside out. So it's a very simple exchange process. It's not like if you bring a brand new solicitor onto something, it can take a lot longer. There's a lot more questions, and obviously it's a lot more cost to you in that scenario. So that's a key one you can take advantage of. Property management I touched on before, obviously the lettings that we offer as well, but interior design wise, we've also got furniture packages for each development. And if that's something that you want to do, I mean, the vast majority of our clients who rent out their apartments will purchase furniture packs or furnish it themselves just to attain the highest possible rent they can. And obviously mortgages, Chris can help out on mortgages. Holborn have got their own, obviously, mortgage panel within the company. So, I mean, we have our contacts there, but obviously it's much easier for you guys to use what you've got in-house. And I know that Chris helps the team massively and helps any clients out with that, with his experience as well.
Actually, Nick, I'll just jump in there.
Yeah.
It's a nice little feeder. You know, not only do we have a mortgage department, if anybody's in doubt or they want that, you know, reassurance the mortgage is going to be okay, whatever their circumstances, then we do advise people get their mortgage, what we call DIPT, decision in principle. So you fill in a short mortgage application, that goes to the lenders. The lenders can then give you the thumbs up, but given your circumstances, you should be able to borrow 65% or whatever it may be, and give people peace of mind. So yeah, a quick advert there for mortgages and give you a bit of a breather. On you go.
Well, just whilst you're on that topic with regards to mortgages, I think that we had the particular finance company that we work with, the brokerage we work with in London. They were over here the other day, and they're talking to me about how they work with us from the start of a site to the finish, and that's really important. It's not like we don't just launch a site without knowing that we're going to be able to get mortgages on there. We already have a good idea of when we actually launch something, which lenders are going to want to lend in that city, which lenders are going to want to lend on that particular building. Will they lend on a new building, or will they not lend on a change from a commercial to a residential? There's lots of different criteria that we do at the front end, which is crucial to when we get to the end, because then we know which lenders are going to lend on the development, and obviously that's a crucial bit to help people complete. There are people out there in the market who will sell the property at the front end, and then obviously once it comes to completion, they've moved on to something else. If we're developing the building and managing ourselves, we're fully invested from the point of planning permission, I guess, through the build, and then also the management of the building for its future. So, I mean, it's very important that all of our clients complete, and obviously mortgages are a massive part of that. So it's a very, very key point there. So just to talk a bit more about Manchester, I know a lot of you will know about Manchester, but I'll whistle through it pretty quickly. I mean, it's well regarded now that Manchester's probably the second best place to invest in the UK, or the most prosperous city outside London, I guess, in terms of investment and what's happening to the city. So I was on a Zoom yesterday, actually, and with Chris, with a client, and they couldn't believe the amount of destinations that the airport can fly to now. So it's the second largest airport in terms of travellers in the UK now. Every time I fly back to Manchester, there seems to be an extra terminal or something being added to it. I mean, it's a growing place, and it continues to be invested into heavily, both with government and private funding as well. So gives you a good idea of where the city's going. I mean, even you look at tourism figures as well. You look at the amount of hotel rooms that are being built in the city every year. Like the state of the Airbnb in the city, you can see that there's a massive market for that side of things. So all of that points towards obviously a global presence. HS2 is being delivered in the next 10 years, we think. You can already travel from Manchester to London in 2 hours. When that train is delivered, you'll be able to travel in an hour. So obviously bringing the UK closer together, but also the travel times will help spread the wealth across the north. That's the sort of mandate from the government. And then probably on a more important level for tenants and everything, the Metrolink. Now, the Metrolink is what most people will use in the city centre. All of our sites are always near a Metrolink stop. It's brand new. It's really easy to use. It's a very pleasant experience going on the Metrolink, and it's how everybody gets around the city, but also how they all avoid the torrential rain that often happens in Manchester. But we always build close to a Metrolink stop. So just to touch a little bit on this, I won't go through too much detail, but I'm sure you're all aware that the BBC moved up to Manchester, their whole operation about, I think it was six or 7 years ago now. ITV then followed, and then you've got various finance businesses who've all got a foot in the city now, and 85 of the FTSE 100 companies have now committed to the city as well. The main change on the right-hand side on the graph here is that many years ago, it would have been transportation, manufacturing, all those types of businesses that you would have seen as the most popular, I guess, in that particular that graph. But you can see that the financial, professional, scientific, tech businesses at the bottom are continuing to grow in the city, and that's where obviously the young population are coming from. That's where the new businesses are also coming from, but obviously the job opportunities are there for them as well. So a few key ones here. I mean, the one on the left-hand side is particularly interesting for us. So that's a building called Hanover House. That was an old Victorian building that Property Alliance Group ourselves actually renovated. We won numerous industry awards for it. And then Amazon took 1.7 million square foot in there as their headquarters for the north of the UK. So obviously a very, very important thing for us as a business. Booking.com have committed to a campus in Manchester for the foreseeable future. You've got TalkTalk up there. WeWork have committed to various sites in the city. So all of these big names that would kind of be unthinkable thinking that it'd be in Manchester maybe 10, 15 years ago. This again, just more statistics again. The key one there, I think, is the economic growth on the left-hand side, and 25,000 new jobs in Manchester by 2025. That's predicted by Ernst & Young. So that's where the demand's coming from for city centre living. That's why there are so many apartments being built in the city centre of Manchester, and that's why we keep committing to it. We've just committed to a brand new site in Manchester that's. We've not even got a spade in the ground on it yet, but that we just launched that 3 or 4 weeks ago, 370 units. We've also got a development with a hotel attached to it that we've committed to another 250 units in the city centre. So we're confident in it. We know it's going to continue to be a success, and I think that the growth of the city is going to continue, but also that demand for living and also the rental demand is really still there, which is very important. It's actually getting better, which is great. So this just shows you how the city centre sort of diversified a bit in terms of it's starting to have its own quadrants, a bit like how London sits. Obviously, you've got the banking area of London, and you've got sort of your property services in London. You've got your arty and creative areas, and the city centre of Manchester is starting to sort of develop those areas as well, which is really important. And it's a diverse workforce, and it makes everything in the city more interesting, doesn't it? It's much more cosmopolitan city, and I think that just gives you an idea of how much the city has changed. So a lot of people ask where are all these people coming from. Typically, I mean, you've got 100,000 students across all the universities, and the key statistic there, which I was quite amazed about, is that 70% of those stay in the city to live and work, which I think 10, 15 years ago would have been well less than half of that. It was very much the trend of getting on a train to London once you got your degree and then going and getting a job down there. Whereas now, not only is the job opportunities are there, but obviously the people who are going to these universities they're enjoying living there. They like the city. They wouldn't stay there if they didn't. So I think that's a major plus point. That's where a lot of these young professionals are going to be coming from, who end up renting or living in our buildings.
Nick, there's one question that has come in, and I think it's an interesting one. And again, we did touch on it when we had a meeting earlier this week. It's not a huge city, is it? You know, from that previous map, you can't actually see that. It's actually quite walkable, isn't it? It's not like London. It's a friendly type community city. Yeah.
No, I'll go when I get to the. There's a map later on, but you can basically the city centre is effectively inside the ring road, and you can walk from one end of the city to the other in 30 minutes. Like if you class that as a city centre. So yeah, it's very walkable. It's very easy to get around there. It's not. I mean, the Metrolink is great because of, like I said, because of the weather, but you could easily walk to work from all of our sites. If you work in the city centre, you can walk to work quite comfortably. But yeah. So just to touch on some figures here from the actual city council, by 2025, you're going to have 70,000 more people in Manchester. The population is growing at twice the national average there, and on the right hand side, there's a massive shortfall at homes. You'll hear a lot of people say, oh, there's so many apartments going up in Manchester, and there is, and there's so many buildings going up in Manchester. And every time I go back there, the skyline's sort of changed again. So, but there's a reason for that. There's a reason why all of these large commercial businesses like ourselves and other businesses in the city are continuing to do it. There's a demand. We know that we can sell the apartments, but we also know there's growth prospects. We know that we can rent them out, and that's the key thing when you're making an investment. So I'll touch a little bit on here. This kind of leads nicely into what we were talking about there, Chris, is that there's various different regeneration areas happening in the city centre. So as I was talking about here, that's basically the city centre you can see here. On the left-hand side here, this sort of side of the city is kind of all been redeveloped. You've got the shopping district up at the top here, and then at the bottom, you've got the finance district, you've got the sort of the central business district. That's kind of all been regenerated. I mean, a lot of it came on the back of the back of the Manchester bombing early in the 90s. A lot of it got regenerated on the back of that. Something good came of something so terrible. But this sort of side of the city centre on the right-hand side, that's all around where Piccadilly Station is and what's happening. And then to sort of north there, this is where Uptown sits. All of these are massive regeneration schemes. I mean, if you look at the one that's opposite Uptown, I'll go into a bit more detail in a minute, but you've got up to 10,000 new jobs coming to that area right opposite the site. At the moment, it's like low-level warehousing, old industrial buildings, like nothing really much there. But obviously, that land now is worth so much money and so has so much potential that the government and private money have committed to that area over a 15-year period, being transformed into sort of like a tech cluster or a tech hub, if you like, for those types of businesses in the future. All of that.
Questions come in, Nick. Just give you a bit of a breather. Your favourite team, Manchester City, Manchester United. Somebody's asked, whereabouts are their grounds in relation to that map?
Manchester City are actually in Manchester, so they're up here to the right hand side. They're not far off that map, actually. That you can kind of probably, it's probably a sort of 5-10 minute drive outside the city centre to Manchester City. Man United aren't technically in Manchester; they're in Trafford, so they're down on the left hand side here. They're about 15 minutes outside the city centre to sort of the southwest, if you like. But yeah, I would only bother going to the Etihad, really, especially with the current standard of the football at Old Trafford. It's the only one I'd bother with. I'll go into a little bit more detail here about actual figures and forecasts that industry sort of leaders like JLL have put together. So we've already had massive growth in Manchester. I mean, the house price growth again there, look at the top corner, by 2026, a 23.5% growth. The rental market, again, growing at a slightly slower rate, but that's an important statistic as well. As you go along, you can probably raise your rents every couple of years. Hopefully you'll have the same tenants for 2 or 3 years. That's our goal. That's obviously what you want as a landlord as well. You as least hassle as possible. So again, all of the market conditions are sitting very nicely for you. And this slide's one we've added in recently just to obviously touch upon what's actually happening in the rental market. There was only 525 apartments at the end of 2021 to rent in Manchester, which is amazing, really, if you think about the amount that are going up. And then there was 2,000 at the same time the year before, despite 5,800 properties coming onto the market. And what you'll see lots of people seeing a building go up. They'll want to upgrade from what they're in. They'll think, well, this one's got a swimming pool, that one's got a gymnasium, the one I'm in's a bit old and tired, but then someone else will fill their apartment, and that's why you've got such a competitive market, but why the rents are going up. And the reason we try and better ourselves in every building we do, or put good facilities in there and manage the building impeccably as well, is because we want to attract the highest rents for people who are moving to those particular buildings. We want, and also obviously we want great tenants as well. We don't want any potential risky tenants. We do loads of background checks and everything else on them. So, but it's an important statistic because a lot of people just say, well, there's loads of apartments rent in Manchester and you'll never get it rented out. But I mean, it literally isn't the case. I mean, the statistics show it, and providing
and working from home as well, Nick. You know, I know that there's been since COVID, a lot of changes made in the planning and then the actual ultimate build when it comes to breakout areas. So people aren't stuck in their second bedroom working away. They can go and work with other people in communal areas, which I think is really nice.
Yeah, it's been the biggest, it's definitely been the biggest shift. I know that if you take Oxygen as an example, we always had a big lobby planned in Oxygen. But as during the COVID period, we probably shifted exactly what we were going to do with that. And now when you walk into that lobby, you've got all the tenants sort of sitting there, almost like a co-working space. There's a coffee machine down there. There's TVs everywhere with sort of the news on. There's a really nice vibe and a community, which is something really good that came out of COVID, is that those types of facilities and buildings are starting to be used, and that helps people be happy in the building, but also makes them want to stay on there. And I think that's something that we've brought into Uptown as well, is that we didn't necessarily have those sort of areas planned, but as things have happened, that's what we've sort of added into it as we've gone along. So it leads me nicely onto Uptown there. So we've got 156 units in there. I think we've got about 30 units left available in the development now. They're all 2 beds that are left in there. It's a very easy development to navigate through in terms of showing it to clients, because of the modular construction way that it's done. Every single unit is pretty much exactly the same, but a mirror image of the one next to it. So that they're all 799 square feet, the 2 beds.
That's big, Nick, isn't it? I mean, just hitting on that point, that is actually quite big.
Yeah, and they're much bigger than what we normally do, much bigger than if you compare it to anything else that's coming to completion in the city centre at the moment. I think that if you work it on a pound per square foot basis, you're looking, they start around £400 a square foot and go up to around 440. Now that is not a lot of money in the location it is in Manchester. It's actually very, very well priced. So I think that's the key thing when obviously clients are considering, but also talking to them about it, is that these apartments are a lot larger than the average in the city centre. We're going to be able to command more rents because of that. And there's other things we've included in these apartments that aren't standard as well. I mean, they're more sustainable. It's more eco-friendly. We've got all of these. Every single apartment comes with smart home technology that I think can reduce your bills by 1/3. Which again, at the moment, if you think about, that's a real selling point to a tenant. If you think about what's going on in the UK at the moment, I mean, a lot of what we're seeing is about inflation, the rising cost of living. I mean, having those types of things in there is a real selling point as a landlord when you start looking for tenants. And it's an important part of what we've included in there. That was always in the planning for this particular building. It just so happened that it's perfect timing with the sort of situation in the UK. So just to touch on the numbers in the bottom left-hand corner here as well, the service charge is £3.30 per square foot. The ground rent is 0.1% of the purchase price. That's a key stat, because that triggers mortgages basically. If you're above 0.1%, then a lot of mortgage lenders won't want to lend on the building. So it's very important that figure is kept like that. It's always something to look out for. And the tenure is a 250-year lease from a freeholder. So the amenities that we've got a cinema room in there, we've got communal roof terraces, co-working spaces, as I touched upon, residence lounge. This just gives you an idea of what we'll be offering in the building. I mean, if the gym's anything like the one in Oxygen, it's probably one of the best residential gyms I've ever seen. I was absolutely blown away when I went in the gym in there. It was, and I'm assuming that we'll be using exactly the same designers and the people who provided the equipment in that particular gym. So yeah, I think that again, major selling point. It looks out over the river, which is a great point as well. So just to drill down a bit more into the location of where it is, that's pretty much the city centre you're looking at there. So what you've got in this region is basically the shopping district. So you've got Selfridges there, Harvey Nichols, the Arndale Centre. You can walk from Uptown to there across a bridge where the river is within 5 or 6 minutes to that particular area. On the left-hand side here, you've got Spinningfields, which is based like the finance district. You've got lots of recruitment firms around there. That kind of worker works and lives in that area, I guess. And that's only sort of a 10-minute walk from Uptown. And then obviously, as you further you go down the city centre, you've got Deansgate that runs all the way down here. You've got bars and restaurants all in that region, and then the same over here as well. The town hall is just based down there. You probably walk to the town hall in 12, 13 minutes from Uptown. So it gives you an idea of how good the location is.
Another question's just come in, Nick, give you a breather. Car parking. You've just actually talked about you can walk here and everywhere for 10 minutes, 12 minutes, yeah. Maybe. Are cars a bit of a no-no in central Manchester like London?
I mean, you can buy a car park space. I think we've got 3 left in the development. They are £20,000 each. It's for an investment. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, because I think that whoever's renting in a particular development will ultimately be renting in that because they work in the city centre, and they'll probably want to walk to work, or they've got the trains or Metrolink or anything. So, but yeah, it's available. But yeah, driving into central Manchester is not what you want to be doing in the morning. You much prefer to be on foot with a podcast in or something like that. It's a lot more sensible. But there is parking available. Yeah, and an umbrella and a coat. So I'll go through these interiors just a little bit. Again, it's always good quality with us. These are the types of interiors we can help you out with. Obviously, the key things really are what everyone looks for: bathrooms and kitchens are high quality. I think that's the key bit really when you're buying something. And then this is the last bit I'll talk about with regards to the investment case for it. So on the right-hand side, the 3 buildings of Uptown are there. So the smallest building on the right-hand side is Graphene, the middle one is Enigma, and then the largest one is Element. The first 2 will complete in August, as I said before, and the largest one will complete in November, December time. Now, as I was saying, this area at the moment is low-level warehousing, old industrial buildings. Like it's prime for investment, and this is the plan I was talking about before, the Great Ducey Street regeneration framework, a very grand name for it. It's going to be done over 15 years, three phases of 5 years, and it's directly opposite the site, so right across the river. So of course that's going to add value to the properties that are in that region. It's going to be always great in terms of rental prospects when sort of phase 1 of this is delivered, and there's people might be working in there as well. So yeah, I think it just helps to know that not only are you buying in a great city, but you're also buying right opposite a site where there's a hell of amount of regeneration going on, which is always a massive plus point. So again, I think the key bit I was talking about is obviously the Wonderwall smart technology is a massive point, I think, to think about that with the potential for renters with this. Everything's going to be high quality in there. The appliances all have a 2-year warranty, which is good, and the building will come with a 10-year warranty as standard as well. So all of those positives you get from buying off plan or buying a brand new development. I could go through. Do you want me to go through the video, Chris? No. No? Okay.
If people want it, they'll come back to me, they'll come back to you, and we can send it on.
Okay. So this is the standard payment plan, but as we discussed, until the end of May, we're doing 10% deposits. So that's the slight difference to what we would normally have, but it obviously shows that is the norm. So that's just something to note there. And so yeah, that's kind of everything on Uptown. You got
purchase price. I didn't see. Did I see that? Did I miss that?
No, I don't know where that is. I don't know how that.
Well, perhaps you know.
No. Hang on.
Perhaps we should run the video whilst you find out.
No. I know. Let me get. I've had this presentation slightly tweaked, and they've removed that slide from.
But we're talking 2 bedrooms, 800 square feet, a river view if people want.
Yep, there's river view. Let me just get a I'm trying to find. Okay, here we go. This should have been on the presentation. So sorry about that. And
No, it's
our
very nimble of you.
Our marketing department should be fired. And so here we go. A 2-bed. This is a typical 2-bed. What you're looking at. There's cheaper units in this available. This one's just been selected out because it might. It's probably achieves a very good growth rent in terms of where it sits in the development. I can help out pick what units I would. What I would select in a particular, what's left of the availability. I'll help you out with that, no problem. So broken down here is the discounted price. You've got a 5% discount for obviously buying off plan with us, that from the list price, the monthly rental that we expect to achieve. So our, and obviously every unit is different. Our lettings and management team, Alliance City Living, do a analysis every quarter of every single unit that we've got on our books, whether it's completed or not. So by the time, if we've basically just done an analysis of this recently, by the time it completes, we're going to be very close to where the rents will be. So we can actually very accurately predict what your returns are going to be. And if you think about it from their point of view, there's no point in them putting exorbitant rents on there or something now, because in 3 months' time, you're just going to have someone who's extremely unhappy with you if you've been that inaccurate so close to completion. So it's always important to be accurate at this stage. Service charge is paid quarterly. That's paid to it's paid to obviously the management company. That's detailed in a spreadsheet and how that's broken down as to every penny. We can't profit from that, so it's an important thing. You can look through that. All people who buy in development can have access to that particular sheet if you want to. The ground rent is 0.1% of the purchase price. That's a one-off fee for the year. And then the bottom fee here, the management fee, is basically if you use our lettings company. So you don't have to use ours. That's what we would charge. There are cheaper options out there, but in terms of a percentage, there are cheaper options. But if you actually look at other admin and fees and everything else that other people charge, it kind of always works out about the same amount. So it gives you a very good indication of what you're going to return on that particular investment. And that should be more than enough to cover the mortgage, and it should be a self-serving investment for the first few years at least. And then obviously, then you might think about selling it. You might think about taking some equity out of it. I don't know, but yeah, it's just broken down like that. It should give you a good idea of what you can be getting from it.
Well, that's great, Nick. And actually, fact, you just touched on something that reminded me. If anybody has got clients out there that have got properties in the UK and they are looking to release some equity, then again, get in touch with the mortgage department. Darren and Donna, more than happy to help. I can't leave this show without asking you about Preston, the exchange in Preston. A fantastic success last year. I know you're not. I've caught you unawares, but a fantastic success.
No, it's fine.
And a different price point from what we're staring at the moment on our screen. How are we getting on with Preston?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. I mean, I really took the bull by the horns on that particular development. I think it was it took a lot of sort of education for people in a brand new city. But I think now what's happened, you can see there's a lot of news articles on it. The price point's very different, but that's a great thing to get involved into a city early. If you invest into Manchester, you're investing 5, 6, 7 years into its biggest growth phase. I think with something like Preston and there's other regional cities like that, you've got a great opportunity to get in early. And yeah, you can pick up, I think the 1-beds in Preston, the main ones that we've sold to Holborn buyers, you're looking at a 1-bed for sort of between 130 and 150,000, and a 2-bed between 190 and 220,000. So it's been very successful. It's been particularly lots of expat clients, I'd say, in this particular region. Expats from the UK have been very receptive to investing into another city. It takes a bit more education for international clients because a lot of them haven't heard of Preston or the first time mentioned it to him. But yeah, we've done extremely well. It's, I mean, as you've seen with the construction update that I sent you the other day, Chris, it's coming out the ground very quickly. I think that it's going to complete in July next year. So you've got people who can invest now. We're just over a year away once they've exchanged to obviously return on their investment. So it's going to be great to see how it performs once complete. But yeah, we're looking at other cities as well. I mean, I'm sure that the way Preston's gone, I think we've sold 150 or 60 of those units in just over 12 months. That I think that we'll probably have something similar to follow it up because of the sort of roaring success that's been. So yeah, it's not just Manchester that we focus on. Preston is one we're looking at. I know that we're looking at other cities in the sort of more northeast area, but maybe Yorkshire way as well. So yeah, hopefully we'll be working with Holborn on that.
It's what fits. What most important is what fits client's budget, isn't it? I mean, the Manchester story is fantastic, and we're looking at a purchase price there of 328. When you're talking about Preston, it was half that. If not less than half of that. And by the way, if anybody's not sure or they missed an extraordinarily good webinar that Nick and I did on Preston, it is actually in the library on the website, along with other fantastic shows. Nick, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
Well done to your football team for winning last night. And I know you're going to wish me very good luck for Liverpool versus Villarreal later on today.
I wish you every success, Chris.
Yes, I think you do. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Next week it's Eid, so we're not going to have a show, but the week after that, we've got a really good one lined up. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This recording will be on the webinar very, very shortly. Thanks, Nick. Always a pleasure. Never a chore.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Cheers, Miltos. Thank you.